I'm gonna go turn the air on. Wow, that's happening. So when you come to your seat, like I'll just show you, like when you sit straight down on the earth, like our backs kind of start that rounding out situation, which then like I can't get that, I can't sit up really, like I come back to where I always am. I can't get a full breath, that kind of thing. So the hips are naturally supposed to dump forward. So if you take some things, I'm gonna try, I just have 2 like regular bed pillows on top of a blanket. Let's see if that's enough. I wanna sit this way. Yeah, so when you get that lift, the pelvis, I might need another little smush up. When you get that little lift, yes, the pelvis can then dump, which you now can see I have this natural low curve, which then just like, brings me up a little bit. So I can get a fuller breath, I can sit more comfortably, my chest is not tightening. So take however long you need to get into a space where you can really get the hips lifted. This seated pose is called Sukhasana. Sukha is ease, asana is the pose. So Sukha, it's like the idea is that you are finding ease here. So keep fidgeting. I have my blocks, so I'm gonna put those under my knees. Just like as much support as you can get so that you just can feel that ease. And again, keep lifting the hips until you feel that happening. Okay, welcome. So sometimes closing the eyes is a little too stressful. And so if you keep the eyes open, I'll invite you to just ground into this moment. And you can do that by just observing. Like what's in my space? I can see my furniture, some plants. Like what's in your space? Like without judgment, just kind of gathering information. I have walls around me, that's nice. So you can just kind of come into this seat as like my space is okay. And if it feels right to you, you can let the eyes close. Again, no worries if not. Either way, the idea is to turn the gaze a little bit inward. So sometimes closing the eyes can help with sensing the internal world more. But again, not required. So I like to start any space off with saying you cannot mess this up. You can't get it wrong. There's not a better or worse way to be. So just realizing I didn't introduce myself. I'm Becca. My favorite thing to teach is people to how to reconnect to their bodies from a place of really deep compassion. And that then permeates always into other areas where we can just be more gentle with ourselves. So I am not a subscriber to positive and negative vibes. That positive vibe only movement I think is bullshit. You are human, we are human. We are entitled to all of the vibes without judgment, without making one literally better. Mathematically, positive is more than negative. So you're not better if you're like blissed out and peaceful and calm. And you're not worse if you're anxious and overwhelmed and scared. Like, that's not a thing. And that applies here. Like, there's not a better or worse way to be right now. Oh, yeah. You can kind of let the body take that in, like breathe that in. There's not a better or worse way to be. I can be in whatever form, in whatever shape, in whatever mood, in whatever emotion, energy, whatever you want to call it, state. I'm allowed to be in that. So take a moment to collect your data. This is time for you. This is your class. So what's happening for you? It's amazing that you are here, like really flippin' phenomenal. I'm so glad you are. What is true for you? Dropping the negative and positive vibes crap. Dropping the idea that one's better than the other. Like, how are you feeling? How are you doing today? Check in. When we talk about feeling, like, where does that come from? How do you know what you're feeling? It's the body. It's the sensation. If you say I'm feeling anxious, how do you know I'm feeling anxious? Maybe there's butterflies in the tummy or tightness in the chest. There's a sensation in the body happening. So if you're like, man, I don't even know really what I'm feeling today, you can, I like to place my hands on my body. My favorite position is one on the belly, one on the chest. But that changes day to day, so maybe on the thighs or even in the head. But just like, whew, come back to the body. Maybe take a couple breaths to wherever you place your hands. And check in with this body. All right. All right, I'm in a body. How's it doing? How are you doing in it? It's weird being in a body sometimes. This planet doesn't always make sense to me. And here, this is just an invitation to root in. Maybe you kind of wiggle the bum a little bit to really feel your seat. You're connected here. Doesn't always feel like it. Like even now, I'm sitting on top of pillows, on top of a mat, on top of flooring, foundation. But then right underneath, supporting everything that's supporting me, is earth. Everywhere I go, literally. It's never once left. Whew. So sometimes in these human bodies, things are bigger than us that we don't have all the data yet. It can feel out of control. It can feel chaotic. One of the things that I loved about studying math was seeing the order that happens, the patterns that happen in nature, the numbers that continue to show up. Oh, it's so cool. I'm getting excited just thinking about it. There is deep order. The earth is so brilliant. Life is so intelligent. So here, invitation to just like, oh yeah. math, physics, things I don't understand fully, that those even highest sciences don't understand fully. Like, it's okay that I don't understand. I can still trust though. So give a couple breaths back to the earth. You all are muted, so feel free to get as loud as you want. Just imagining like you're putting something down. You're giving something back. Maybe it's a feeling, a thought, a question. Something that is too heavy for you to hold. There is nothing too heavy for the earth. So just imagine that sinking off you, dripping down, letting you get simultaneously heavier as you let it down, but lighter as you put it down. As you sit here with the earth, I'll invite you as you breathe to just gently invite the inhale from below. So right where the seat is connected, imagining there's this channel here that as you inhale, it pulls earth, yummy breath up into the belly, hips, legs. And exhale, that's where it heads back out. So a bit different of the flow of the breath than we're used to. We're pretty familiar with the inhale through the nose, down the mouth, into the head, down, right? That's pretty tangible, but there's also this current that's happening the opposite direction. On the inhale, it floods up, and exhale, back out. So just take some breaths, opening this connection with the earth, remembering that you are born here, live here, will die here. Your life is here on earth. It is your source. It's gotcha. We'll take a couple more breaths, as long as you need. And then eventually, as you feel ready, you can just start to follow any natural movements that might happen. So kind of like when you're waking up in the morning, like, you know how you want to move, you know how you want to wake up and stretch. So the best you can, just get out of your way for just this hour. Let the body kind of take over. Invitation, if you haven't already, to just switch the cross of the legs, even out. Check in with your seat. Maybe you need to pull the flesh from the donk away and really root in. And we're going to be really working with this. I just keep seeing like roots sprouting out right from my tailbone, locking in. And that just kind of lends to that one sturdiness, tetheredness, connection to here. Like you're in a body, you're breathing, you're on earth, you're here. But it also, like, it's just like tree roots. Like as I inhale, it's the same thing. I'm pulling up nutrients upwards. So stay rooted in the hips. And then we'll start to just kind of massage out our pelvis. So I'm kind of taking just slow, small circles one way. and then the other. So bringing kind of, maybe the chest comes with it, around towards one knee to the front, other knee back around. Or maybe you kind of stay in seeing if you can just isolate the hip moving in a circle. And then we'll go the other way. So the pelvis is really, we're going to be working on that. The pelvis, that's where your femur bone connects into the hip, right? That's the bottom part of the pelvis. And then the pelvis is also where the lowest vertebrae in the back plugs in. So you're kind of like connecting the spine with the legs almost. It's like this really massive thing that's happening inside of you. And the pelvis, like, I like to think of it like a bowl. So we're going to be, you know, as we go through these movements, I'm going to talk about like dumping the pelvis. And you can kind of find that now as I kind of, like my butt kind of sticks out. I'm exaggerating that low back curve. I'll turn to the side. So just imagine this pelvis like hinging and dumping, or I can tilt and round here, tucking it under. So you can kind of just start to find that here. Great. Beautiful. So from here, we'll again stay rooted in the hips. We'll take one leg out long and keep the other leg inside. So one sole of the foot is inside the inner thigh. It might be closer towards the knee or shin or wherever, but just coming in. This bent knee, let's just really ground that. So I like to kind of take the heel of my hand and just stay there, okay? So it's kind of like when you're holding one end of the rubber band, like stretching a rubber band. If you only stretch one and the other one comes with it, like you're not stretching it. So imagine like holding this pelvis in place, and then as we move, so we're gonna get some more space. So this stays here. And then I'm just gonna start to slowly hinge away from that bent knee, coming towards this straight leg. So first finding just a little bit of a side stretch here. Woo. Don't have to go far for me to find it. Hand can be just wherever feels good. Can't mess it up. And then we'll come back to center. And this time we'll just kind of start to hinge towards this extended leg. You want to be mindful of this extended knee. You don't want to hyperextend. So if you notice it kind of like almost bowing the other way, you can put something underneath, like a rolled up blanket, a block, or you can just keep it bent. So bend this knee as much as you want. We'll just start to kind of stretch here, but again, keeping this bent knee hip really rooted. And then again, rooting the hips through those roots, and then drinking up the juice from the earth with the breath. Great. When you're ready, we'll inhale, come back to center. This time, we'll again root both hips, and then we'll just start to hinge forward. So you want to only go as far as until the hips start to pop up. So that might be like, that's really kind of for here for me today. So keeping the back nice and straight, the shoulders roll down and away. This extended leg foot wants to flex back towards the base, and again, not hyperextending that knee. We'll just start to kind of, my hamstrings are like, what just is happening? So, take some breaths here. A lot of times when we get to kind of a sticky spot, a resistant spot, the tendency is to bind up to it, to like, kind of tighten up to the resistance, resist the resistance. And you can do that, but kind of my approach with everything I do in class, with clients, in life in general, is like, let it be here. Of course, we're fucking human. Like, you're gonna have tightness, you know, you're gonna have things come up, you're gonna have icky feelings, you're gonna have whatever. And so literally just like, if you can, open up to the tension, open up to the resistance. Soften to it. And the breath can help with that. So Again, drinking up from below, straight into that, wherever you feel the resistance. One more breath here. And then we'll bring it on. Great. We're gonna bring this extended leg in, pause for just a second, feel the difference on the two sides. Great. And then extend this opposite leg out. Ooh, like this is all I need to do to stretch this. Ooh, I'm a little sore today. So again, keep this extended, just check in with your like little, what you call it, engagement. So this foot is extended back towards the face. This knee you don't want to hyperextend, so I'm gonna, this is kind of like a sensitive knee for me, so I'm gonna just take like a rolled up blanket to support it here. And then again, this bent thigh is really rooted, so I'm gonna really feel my pelvis down here. This is grounded in, my knee is protected, great. So I'm gonna first start by just grounding into this hip, and then just leaning over, kind of just finding a little bit of space in the side body. So in yoga, there are these things called chakras, and they're just energy centers along the spine, and the most primal, the most primitive is the root, red. Can you see all the red? It's right where we're getting into the hips, the legs. It's just our first basic shelter, needs, food, safety, security, sex, money, just basic primitive things for humans. Still breathing here into this space. I'll keep going, but we'll head back up to neutral. And then same thing, grounding into this thigh, and then just start to hinge towards this foot. So can't mess it up, just kind of wherever you land, but we want to stay connected with the pelvis. So really root in. So the root chakra, the color associated with it is red. I could spend days talking about frequencies, but when we talk about frequency and energy, we're literally talking about sine curves. So a frequency associated with it is the frequency of the color red. C is I believe, the musical note, the tone that goes with it. So it's just like a piano, like you are a being that is tuned by frequency. So tuning yourself with these things, with things associated with the root chakra, can help just ground. So seeing the color red, that's a way to tune yourself, just like a piano or guitar. Listening to root chakra music, eating rooted foods, so root vegetables, apples, red foods. Inhale, we'll come back up. Really root into your roots. And then hinge forward through the center. So again, flexing this foot back, keeping that hip rooted, only going as far as that hip stays rooted. So here, this space is just really vital to our happiness, to our calm and peace and tranquility. So that's what we're focusing on today, and you can kind of do some of those things to help if that feels a little out of balance. So depression, anxiety, those are symptoms of root chakra wanting to be tuned. Fear, guilt. Great. When you're ready, we'll come back up. Bring those legs in again. We'll bring both of the feet together. Woo! Oh, knees out wide. Maybe you start with just a couple butterfly flappy wings. Maybe this is the edge. We're getting into this inner hips, kind of grounding these knees down. That might be as your stretch for today. Or maybe you roll the shoulders down away, lift the chest. And again, same thing as before, rooting down into that pelvis back here, and only hinging forward as far as that will stay down. So keeping the chest kind of lifted. Opening up here. And And same as before, invitation to just kind of draw the breath upward. So right from those roots. Feeling up. Great, one more full breath. Exhale. Ah. It's okay. Inhale, we'll come back up. And we're gonna head to hands and knees. So slowly take your time. If hands and knees, you know, pause. Let's warm up our wrists. Before we go onto our wrists, it's just so nice to like wake them up. My wrists haven't really done much today, so like why would I ask them to bear my weight? So you can do this a number of different ways, just kind of literally rolling out the wrists, kind of keeping the engagement in the hands, flexing around one way and then the other. That's one way. Sometimes people like to steeple the fingertips and take figure eights one way, and then a little yoga for the brain as you do the other way. That's really fun. Flashes, massages even. So just take a couple moments to like move the wrists. And what I always love about here is that it gives me an opportunity to really feel how my body connects to one another, like the different parts. There's math in the structure of your bones, but I'll talk about it later. Deep order, there's deep order even in you. So just looking at like the different sizes in the bones and how they connect to one another in the hands, the fingers, how that then plugs into the wrists, and then, oh, I kind of feel it in this forearm bone, whatever that's called, into the elbow, shoulder. Ooh. So like your wrist movements might actually kind of be more like full arm movements, but then wait, my arm is plugged into my shoulders, which is directly connected to my hips. Okay, right? It's like maybe it's a whole body kind of wiggle here. But I really love and remembering just how intricate and complex and like my body makes sense. It's like, it's so brilliant. It is, I could have never come up with this machine. So like, oh, thanks for this body. Okay, when you feel like you are juiced up in the wrists, we're gonna come to hands and knees. I will always recommend a folded blanket or some kind of cushy cush underneath the knees. And you want generally the knees underneath the hips, wrists underneath shoulders. I say generally because every body is different and like our bone structure is, it's just different. So it might not be exactly that, but generally. Toes can be tucked or untucked. You want generally them kind of be railroad with each other. So sometimes the tendency is to splay in or even out. So just generally. And then we'll take a bit wider of a stance. So err on the side of being too wide, too stable a foundation. And then here we'll just kind of plug the arms up into the shoulders. So what I mean by that is just kind of get out of the wrists a little bit and support yourself here. You can do that by kind of plugging up into the back of the heart space, right in between the shoulder blades, like pressing up there. You'll notice that the eyes of the elbows, so this like inside of the elbow crease, it's not this like pointy part, but the opposite of that. When I'm engaged, if I'm just kind of like lackadaisical, right, it's here. But if I press in and up, I don't know if you can see this on what you're looking at, but they'll spiral up and in. So you can kind of play with the spiraling of the elbows. If that's like confusing or annoying, just drop it, who cares? Just an option for an engagement here. And then we'll imagine the belly kind of plugging up towards the spine. So one of the things I love about the abdominal muscles is that every single one is designed to support the spine. Again, I love the body so much. So it's like they go fully around the spine and they kind of just suck towards it to support it. So that happens in the front, on the side, and the back. So just invite that idea that there are muscles that are meant to contract towards the spine and hold it. So you can just kind of plug that. Great. Then we'll start to isolate. If you are familiar with cat-cow, we're gonna head towards there, but we're gonna first start in just the pelvis. So right here where we were talking about that, like where the L5 joint plugs in. So we're gonna dump forward, our bum sticks out, our belly kind of stretches. That's an inhale. And then an exhale again, see if I can just keep it just in the pelvis. I'm gonna tuck and round it. So feel free to peek at me if you need. This is kind of like a very deep, big bone that we're trying to move. So it might be a little weird, no problem. So again, on your inhale, we're gonna dump that pelvis, belly drops, bum sticks out, gets exaggerated. And then on exhale, I can imagine my belly drawing in towards the spine, plugging up, and that tilts my pelvis, rounding my back. So take a couple moments to just isolate this rock and tilt of the pelvis. Still, keeping the engagement of the shoulders, the belly, supporting yourself here, but. And then maybe you take that isolated movement side to side, whatever that means for you. In a circle. Ooh, it can get kind of sexy in here, that's okay. We are sexual beings, we are meant to be, so that's kind of part of this chakra. Let out your little sexy side. If you find a spot that's really sticky, like, ooh, there is some, ooh, you can pause, kind of situate yourself in there, take a couple breaths, and again, kind of allow that resistance to be here. Woo! Great. Then when you're ready, we'll come back to neutral, and we'll continue this journey through our whole spine, but we're gonna let that still be the start of it. So on an inhale, we'll drop the belly, tilt the pelvis, and then continue that journey through the rest of the mid-spine, through the belly. Chest pulls through, neck is part of your spine, so gently pulls through last. This is our cow. Inhale. Exhale, still starting at the pelvis, starting that plugging of the belly, rounding, tucking. Again, letting that kind of travel through the low back, mid back, upper back. Ooh, neck. As I round like a cat, just waking up, pressing away. And then inhale, starting at the pelvis, dumping, pulling the chest through. Looking up. Exhale, tucking the tail, rounding nice and slow, pressing away. Using the press of the earth away to stretch and find space. So take this on your own breath. Don't need to wait for my cues. But I'll invite you to see if you can time your breath with the movement. So again, starting from below, let's say on the inhale, I start pulling from my feet through the legs, starts to fill up my pelvis. Now it's in my low belly, chest. Oh, keep going, inhale through the throat. And then exhale, back out. So see if you can time the capacity of the breath with the capacity of the movements, if that makes sense. So when you're halfway through your breath, you're halfway through whichever movement. And then as always, feel free to take this in whatever direction feels delicious. So your spinal discs, they are round. So think 360 degrees around town. Every angle is an option. Oh, but stay with your breath. Move with your breath. When I say move with your breath, I mean just let that timing be what moves you. So again, when I inhale, I do a movement. When I exhale, I change a movement. But again, can't mess it up. Great. Great. Any last wiggles or movements that feel nice? Ooh, my back just popped. Great. Then we're going to take our knees out wider. Come onto our forearms, our arms, and just kind of sink the hips back towards the heels. So this may be kind of like a child's pose, toes together, knees out wide. Or maybe you kind of scoot your feet closer to 90 degrees, like being right underneath your knees and kind of 90 degrees in the legs. Or any angle in between that, if that makes sense. Woo! We'll take a couple breaths, just kind of sinking into the hips here. Great. When you're ready, we'll rise up. Come back through table. We'll walk the hands out about a handprint. Tuck the toes. We're going to come to down dog eventually, but we're going to take it nice and slow. So I like to imagine the support system of the body starting at the feet, like a sleeping bag. So imagine here, just the big toes kind of zipping towards each other, ankles, shins, knees, inner thighs. I can already start to feel that, like my belly turns on. And then same thing, just zippering up the abdominals, plugging the belly in, keeping that as I start to slowly lift the knees, send the hips up and back, and then coming into down dog. So take your time here. I like to bend deeply into one leg, and then the other pedaling at the feet, just kind of taking this first as the backs of the legs stretch. So kind of rooting the heels, imagining the earth is holding those heels in place and using that to stretch out. So when I get more space in the backs of my legs, particularly in my hamstrings, that pelvis has more opportunity to dump. Then I press evenly through both hands. I'm going to take a couple breaths here. Great. When I feel ready, I'm going to slowly start to walk my hands towards my feet, come into a forward fold. So if you have blocks, great. I definitely recommend those under the hands on a forward fold. If you don't, you can grab books or just bend your knees so that you can feel your hands on the earth. But get supported here. And then we'll just take a couple rocks side to side. From here, I'm going to imagine someone holding my hip creases, so locking my pelvis in place, holding that back. I'm going to bring my hands to the tops of my feet, and as I inhale, slide my hands up my legs, roll my shoulders down and away. I'm going to come to halfway lift. So here you want a really nice flat spine. So again, somebody holding the hips back, those are plugging backwards. Shoulders are rolled down and away. This crown, I'm imagining like pressing into somebody's hand who's just right here. Like a tea party could happen on your back. So I'm gonna take an inhale here, exhale, fold. We'll do that a couple times so you can get used to the feeling. Inhale, slide the hands up, plug the hips back, roll the shoulders down and away. Tea party is happening, and then exhale, hold. Do that a couple more times on your own breath. On the inhale, slide up. The idea is to create as much space in between each vertebrae as possible. Exhale, fold. So as you roll to halfway lift, it's like you're just wanting to extend the spine and then exhale, letting that extension fall with gravity. So really let gravity help you out here. Such a good force. When you feel ready, we'll come back to hang. Maybe shake out the neck a little bit. Loose up the jaw. Then we'll slowly again peel the hands up the body. This time we'll just continue the journey up. Maybe keep it up the legs, hips, belly, chest. Roll the shoulders down and away. Tadasana. So this is mountain pose, which is like such an earthy pose. Mountains are huge, massive, just straight up earth. So take a second to like embody that. Maybe take again a really wide stance, rolling the shoulders down and open. And here the belly can want to hang on. We're never really taught to like let our belly go. So the best you can today, just like give the belly to the earth. Let it get really heavy. Tadasana, mountain pose. You are stable, you are strong, you are big, you are powerful. And here, an invitation to check in with yourself. A little over halfway through this practice, so just like, how did that first part go? Again, without judgment. One's not better or worse. I like to use the word data because when you collect data, it's actually like not viable data if you judge it. Like if you like, oh, I was really anxious that whole time. Oh, I'm such a piece of shit. Like that's bad data. Like you can't use that. So the best you can, just collect whatever happened as just information. There's no meaning behind it. If anything happened or your experience like that you gathered that you didn't want, you can again exhale that back down. I don't need that anymore. And then perhaps on the inhale, you imagine those roots grabbing anything that you want. The earth has it. There's nothing that you could want that the earth doesn't have. That might not be fully true, but you can connect to it. Pull it upward, whatever it is. Breathe it in. And when you're ready, we'll find a bounce in the knees. So keep the knees nice and soft. And I like to think of this like I'm standing on a diving board. And as I kind of press down, I feel that it's like kind of more subtle than a diving board, but there's still that reverb that happens. There's still that bounce back up that happens. And that's just like fun to remember, like there's something listening, there's something responding. So really kind of claw into that, like find your toes, your feet, as you find this connection here, soft bounce. Keeping the glutes nice and melted, maybe you take a couple like figure eights or something with the hips to loosen that up, let the belly go. Just get really heavy in the low body. Shoulders are really released. And then maybe we take some tra-la-las. I don't know what this is called, but take the arms just kind of loose and sway side to side. Let the arms kind of use your momentum for the sway. Some gentle spinal twists. So keeping everything really soft, keeping the knees. Anything that wants to happen, let it. And then slowly, when you feel done with that, you can kind of release the movement, but then feel how the sway kind of keeps going, this idea of momentum. Beautiful. When you're ready, we'll find the diving board. And on an inhale, like we're scooping something up and bringing it up overhead, we'll sweep the arms up overhead. Exhale, fold. Inhale, we'll take that halfway lift, so plugging the hips back, shining the chest forward. Exhale, fold. And then inhale, again, as if you're like gardening or something. Like, what do I want from you, Earth? And on an inhale, I'm going to imagine just drawing it up through my whole body, even up over my head, just encircling myself with it. Exhale, gather it with the heart. We'll do that again. Soft bounce in the knees. Inhale, sweep it up. Exhale. Oh, let anything go you need or don't need. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, something else you may want, or maybe the same thing. Through the whole body, inhale. Exhale, gather right at the chest. We'll pause here. Just that little bit of movement. How does the body like that? I like to bring again my hands to the body. Couple breaths here. It is so loving of you to do this for yourself. I want to name. I just want to commend you on being willing to take this time and energy for yourself. So congratulations. You're not better because you did. I don't want to falsify any information, but I think it's beautiful. So thanks for being here. As you feel ready, we'll find that soft bounce, the drip of every part of the body just headed towards the earth. And then inhale, we'll see if we can stretch it up a little bit more. Exhale, dive forward, forward, forward. Inhale, we'll take that halfway lift. Exhale, this time we'll plant both palms, step one leg back. So really stretch that back heel back, find the stance first, and then softly lower this knee. I'm going to recommend you do it onto a blanket. We're going to come to a low lunge. So here, whatever bent knee, that femur, imagine it, this thigh bone, imagine just drawing back towards the pelvis. And then this other side of the pelvis kind of shines forward. So we're just squaring off the hips here. Ooh, and then for me, I kind of like to take some pulses almost, kind of scooching this front foot forward and back a little bit to let my body like ease into here. Back toes can be tucked or untucked. This front knee wants to be generally over front ankle. And here, so for me, heading straight towards the earth is not like, there's not enough space for me. So feel free to like grab a chair or you can use this, like I'm using a dresser right here just to kind of support you. We'll just take a couple breaths into this thigh hip socket. Full inhale here. And then maybe you kind of draw the legs together and use that to lift you up. Maybe arms come up overhead. Slight back bend, perhaps. Anjaneyasana. So this is kind of like our cow pose almost. Inhale. Exhale, we'll float the palms down. Step this front foot forward, back. Come through tabletop, tuck the toes, lift the hips. Come into down dog. Take your time to pedal out the feet, find the back of the leg stretch. Press evenly through both hands right into the back of the heart space and allow the pelvis to dump. Maybe shake out the head. And when you're ready, we'll walk or step or however you get there in front of the mat. Forward fold. Let everything go. Let gravity help you out. Again, if you have blocks, great. Books, great. Even like a pillow or something. Oh yeah, that feels nice. Just so like, so the hand, like the body, it's like all just kind of a mind game. Like just like, oh, there's something here that I can hold on to that's supporting me. The brain really likes that, especially when it's kind of upside down. So here, maybe take a couple halfway lifts, finding space, and then exhale, just giving up the body so gravity can kind of stretch out. When you're ready, nice and slowly on an inhale, we'll peel the body up. Arms can come up overhead if that feels nice. And then back to Tadasana. Great. We'll head to the other side. So we'll keep a soft bounce on the knees, glutes are soft, belly soft, shoulders roll down and away. Maybe do a little shimmy shake. I'm okay. When I'm ready, inhale, sweep the arms up overhead. From below, exhale, forward fold. Inhale, find that halfway lift. Exhale, plant both palms. This time, step the opposite leg back long, so whichever one you didn't do. We'll again kind of find the space first, so scooching this back foot back, plugging that heel back, and then eventually lowering that knee. Woo. Trust that sides are different, right? Imbalances happen. You are human. You are meant to be in balance. Ooh, so same thing, kind of let the body get used to this. Plug this femur back into the hip socket. Shine this opposite hip side. Woo. It's the same thing. Maybe you want to use some props to kind of lean on. Blocks, anything at all that would be supportive. But you want to be mindful of this knee just directly over this ankle. Maybe kind of let the neck fall. Take a back bend. Or maybe you kind of scissor the legs. Inhale, sweep it up, Anjaneyasana. Whichever feels nice. Can't get it wrong. When you feel ready, we'll float the hands down. Step this front foot back. Come through tabletop. Maybe you're like, oh, I need to kind of shake stuff out or wiggle the hips. Do that. And when you're ready, we'll come to down dog. Here we'll take a pretty wide stance in the legs. Toes can splay outward. And then we'll bend into the knees. Press back. So we're kind of using the hands to melt the heart back towards the thighs. Let the neck go. Couple breaths here. And then when you're ready, we'll start to walk the hands towards the feet, sinking the hips, coming into your version of squat, Malasana. So for me, my hips are like, squat is, I need some help in squat. So feel free to kind of just rock side to side. It's kind of more like froggy, coming onto the tiptoes of one and then the other. Feel free to stand on a folded blanket, so lifting the heels. That can be supportive. If you have blocks, that's how I prefer a squat. You can sink those under the hips and then sit on those. So however you do it, no problem, but just kind of massaging out here. And we'll take some big root drinking up breaths here from the feet into the hips. Again, kind of letting the resistance be there. Oh. One more inhale. Full exhale, and then we'll walk the hands back out, lift the hips, come back into down dog. Stretch out, maybe wiggle the hips. Great. This time we'll walk the hands towards, walk the feet towards the hands, come to forward fold. And then eventually heel the body up, come back to stand. Great. So we're going to practice a little balancing. Tree pose, if you've heard of it. One of my favorites. First, I'll name that depending on the body type, balancing can be more challenging or less challenging. So my body type is very dense and heavy already. And so like balancing is like I could be here, like I stand at the grocery line like this. That might not at all be what your body type is like. Some body types are more prone to kind of like air element. So thinking like breezing over and forward or around. So no judgment of what happens. I would recommend like being by something to help you out. But we're gonna come to stand, find our Tadasana, roll the shoulders down and away. Find that nice softness in the knees, the glutes. Whichever foot feels sturdiest, we'll start there. And you'll just start to imagine leaning, bringing weight into that foot. So we're still on both feet, but whichever side you want to stand on first, so just imagine starting to bring weight into that. And then if you want, imagine like roots from the foot, the heel, like really just plugging in, blasting through the foundation into the earth, locking in here. You might choose to find like a non-moving point, a drishti, and that just helps tether you, like I'm right here in this moment, in this space, I'm grounded. So like finding something to just focus at can help you remember that you're here. When you're ready, you'll start to peel the other foot up. So nice and slowly, we're just taking the heel off, coming into tiptoes. And then from here, I'll find that zipper. So imagining my legs kind of zippering in towards each other, plugging the belly in, lifting out of my legs almost. From that engaged place, lift the knee in front of the body, flexing the toes. Great. If you feel stable, we'll swing that leg open and then gently place it on the body. So you can also stay here with the foot on the mat. If you have a block, you can use that as stability too. So whichever version of tree, you can kind of like, this is nice, like a little kickstand. Maybe you even bring the foot above the knee, but just don't press the knee or the foot into the knee. Wherever you are, imagine that kind of zippering up. So foot into leg, leg into foot, holding yourself, plugging the belly in. Maybe you feel stable, arms want to come up into whatever species of tree you like. Full inhale from the roots, up the leg into the belly. You got it, one more breath. And then exhale, we'll slowly release. Do whatever you got to do to release that. Shimmy, shake, wiggle. When you're ready, we'll head to the other side. Trust that this side is going to be different in whatever way, no judgment. We'll first, again, opposite foot start to root in. Feel those like root sprouting, energetic roots. They're very real. Plug into the earth, hold on. You got it. Anything you need from there. I want peace and calmness through this pose. Help me. Bring it up. Plugging the belly in and up, supporting you out of your leg, rolling the shoulders down and away. When you feel ready, plug the belly in and up. Flex that opposite foot and bring that foot into the knee in front of the body. Stay here, or maybe you hinge open this hip. Ooh. And then maybe you place that foot on the leg. So again, feel free to stay here on the earth, working on that zippering, holding yourself up. I'm so stable here. This is a beautiful expression of tree. Maybe you grab that block. Maybe you're here practicing and want like a wall or a dresser or something. Maybe you want to come in and out of this pose. So whatever works for you, but really support yourself here. Find ease if you can. Maybe hold on to your drishti. If you feel really stable, perhaps close the eyes. Oh my goodness. Challenge yourself. If you fall, we'll catch you. One more inhale. And then exhale, we'll release. Nice job. Shake it out. Whatever needs to happen. We'll inhale, sweep the arms up. Exhale, forward fold. Plant both palms. Step both feet back. Come into down dog. Stretch it out. And then as you feel ready, we'll lower the knees. Swing the legs around. Come onto our bums. Great. So I like to have a little just rolled up blanket for my neck. I'm going to roll on down to my back. We'll take just a couple more movements before Shavasana. So I like to kind of just windshield wiper my legs side to side, so bending into the knees, feet on the mat, windshield wipering side to side. Maybe it feels nice to cross one leg over the other, so taking the ankle over the opposite thigh, kind of like someone reading the newspaper. Wiggles there might feel nice. You might know how you want to move right now. Great, do that. But this is just kind of allowing the body to unwind before resting. Perhaps it feels nice to hug both knees into the chest. Massage out the low back. Maybe take a little rock and roll here. If you have a scarf or something, you can also, where my nose? You can strap it around the shins and kind of use that. So if you have a scarf, I always love a good scarf or strap. Just kind of find space in the low back here. Take one final movement, pose, stretch, whatever feels nice to you. And then eventually we'll release everything. Head down to Shavasana. So set yourself up. We have just a couple minutes left. So use this time to get as comfy as possible. I like to take pillows under my knees. Maybe a blanket over the belly. Hands can come to the body. This is your time to just let yourself rest. Just like when you take meat off the grill, all those juices have flowed. You gotta let it rest. Let them sink back in. So give your body back to the earth. Take some upwards breaths. You let yourself absorb. Find your breath. Just like the earth, it has never once left you, so just find it. It's always there. Notice how you can really only feel the breath when it's in the body. So come back to the body. And then feel where the body connects to the earth. Every place that the body is touching. Thank you so much for this body, this breath, this earth. Unwavering support, unwavering love. It's always here for me. Stay here if that's what you want, or if you're ready, find movement. Perhaps eventually rolling to one side. Snuggle yourself just for a moment, little cuddle. Oh, I love myself so much. I'm so flippin' cute. Oh, I'm so sweet. And you feel like you're ready to press yourself up into a seat. Invitation to just place the hands on the body one more moment. Thank you for this body. Thank you for this breath. Thank you all for coming today, sharing your practice. Y'all are phenomenal beings. So lastly, thank yourself for being willing. I love you all so much. If you have any questions, feedback, want to tell me about your experience, want to know more about the root chakra, anything at all, I'm happy to help.